Bonsai. Oh, there was another little live that we just did for the short review of the Valfather. And Highland Park just did a short review. Please check it out if you want some detailed notes. I might run through them quickly when we talk to the gang here. It's pretty good. It's I think I do like it a lot better than the. I do like it better than the Valkyrie. I will say the Valknut was pretty tasty. It was more in like the hazelnuts, cashews, that kind of thing. To me, this one is more of your straightforward heather peated, reminiscent of like a Dark Origins, with less emphasis on the sherry, more emphasis on the peat. Um, so that's not a bad thing per se. It's just a different type of peat if you're used to doing the Isla thing, which I am, and I've had other peated whiskeys like Annock. I've had a couple different, even in their range. Like they have a Flouter, which I was not a fan of, but they also have the Cutter, which I actually liked a lot. So I guess it all depends on the type, because some of them are just, I thought were just horrible. Like Tum and Tool has this one called a peaty tang, and it was so tangy that I just couldn't get into it. It just wasn't my thing. The Tum and Tool peaty tang. Has anyone ever had that? Let me know in the comments, because I was not a big fan of that one. And like I said, the Enoch Flouter was another one that was kind of reminiscent of that kind of peaty, tangy thing. The Cutter was more. Reminded me more of like a Brooklady, maybe that type of peat, which I do like a lot. I love Kilhoman's peat. Oh man, anything on Isla. Never had a peat I didn't like on Isla. Even the Kalila, more vegetal peat, I enjoy. Hey, Dram, good to see you, man. How's it going to you? Hopefully you're out of work in California. Trooper, good to see you there in Louisiana. Daniel, I don't know where you are. I think you might be in Canada. I can't remember. Oh, doing pretty well. What you sipping? Good to see you there, Don, as well. Dan, oh, what are you and Trooper and Dram and all you guys drinking? DHS, good to see you, man. Who's going to drink the dark with me tonight? If I had a bottle of that, I would be all in, 'cause I love that whiskey. Say what you want about Highland Park's marketing craziness and all that, but that's actually a pretty good whiskey. Is it worth 300 plus? I mean, you can find it. I know if you do some homework, around 260, 250 at the absolute cheapest, but um, it is a good one. I mean, it's worth that, I guess, for a 17 year. I mean, that's a lot of years for something that's I don't know. It's more special. I like the light a lot too, the light and the dark. And I'm a big fan of the fire and the ice beforehand. The fire is more of a savory, spicy dram. We'll get more details of that later. Um, 250 for the horrible package, idiotic black bottle, and stupid cheap bag they added. Oh wow! But the whiskey is great. Yeah, that's the thing. 250 is a great deal, man, because usually it's like 300 pretty much. Yeah, done with work, bored, and just chilling. Okay, well, you got to pour something there, Dram. Are you home? Um, Mark, good to meet you or see you. I'm not sure if I've talked to you before, but welcome to the channel either way. No HP tonight, sipping the Deanston 9. Bourbon, probably. Is that a smaller size bottle of the Valfather? No, it's regular size, I believe. No, you're right. Actually, I did order this overseas. This is a 700 milliliter. You're right. I forgot about that. This is a 700. I hate that too. I wish it was the regular size. That's for sure. I'm not that much into Scotch Lover to spend 300 bucks. Well, if you do ever get the urge to, the dark is the one, I'd say, next to ice, that I like the most. But for that kind of money, you might as well get like a freaking 25-year-old if you can get it for that price. It's about, well, no, I'm thinking of a different one. The 25 is that one's like 500 to 600 actually. The 18 you can still get for 130. I mean, I would try to get the old version of the 18 if you can find it. Well, find an old bottle of the 12. Yeah, these old ones, I'm very lucky that I snagged those when I could, because it was right before I think they started changing things yet again on the Viking marketing and all that. And I was like, you know what? I like a basic, nice bottle, no frills. I don't mind some graphic design. I mean, it comes with the territory. You have to market your stuff, but man, they go over the top with this stuff sometimes. Dram's got a glass of something. He doesn't know what it is. He put a lid on it and forgot about it till now. Oh, the mystery scotch, man. I definitely can say I don't think I take that back. I did find something the other day. I wasn't quite sure what it was. So I think it's the problem when you get so many samples of stuff. It's easy to like get them all mixed up. I may buy a HP full volume this week and get it somewhere local for 83. Great price, snag it, Andrew. That's a definite buy. I would say if you're into the more basic bourbon cask whiskeys. To me, I mean, I like the full volume, and if I'm going to go with it, bourbon cask, it's not it's very high quality, good. It was a little more one dimensional to me because I like more of a exotic maturation or some sort of I don't know, heavier peat or something to make it a little different. But it's a good whiskey out of the gate, I would say. Yep, I've got a couple bottles of 15. Nice deal. I love the 15. Great price too. Sometime walk around dream with a dream and forget where I put it down. Poured some Altmore 18 egg pour. Hopefully it's good. Yeah, that should be. I think that's the one I had. I'll have to look. Here's Malt. Let's get him in here. Hey, how's it going, man? Whoa.
Hey, what's up, buddy? Close up. How's it going?
Pretty good. Sorry to just suck you in like that. I saw you there, and I thought, well, after I get a couple of these.
You're good, man. You're good. How are you?
I'm just hanging in there. It's been crazy at work as usual, but
yeah, I hear you, man.
No complaints.
No, me neither, man. How's everything going otherwise? The Valfather.
Yeah, it's good. It could be better.
Highland Park in the history of Highland Park. Is that what they say?
It is peaty. I mean, I'll give them that. I mean, it's just a different kind of peat, and that's the thing. It's 47%, which is a nice ABV.
Yeah.
It's refill casks though, and I think part of that is to get that peat action going. It is natural color, which I'm happy about. Not too sure on the chill filtering. I couldn't get an official answer for that, but yeah, the notes are good. It's really stewed fruit, like apples and pears on the nose. You get some tea, like some. Have you ever heard of the term lapsang souchong before?
Yes.
It's that kind of Japanese, like earthy kind of tea, I guess.
Gotcha. And you said it's all refill. Is it like refill sherry or bourbon?
No, it's all. Well, they just say refill casks. I'm assuming that this is bourbon, but they don't really go into a lot of. That's the funny thing. You get a whole page full of lore on Vikings, but you don't get a whole lot on what's really in the juice.
They're all about the Vikings these days, so
I mean, they give you some notes on what they got out of it. I didn't even read them because I don't like to be coerced into thinking about anything. But it's just as matured and 100% refill cask to give a resounding bass note of aromatic peat. Huh. Well, either way, refill is always kind of one of those things where I'm kind of like, the first fill are the things I like to hear.
Yeah. Well, speaking of first fills, I know we're going to be getting into Highland Park. I'm going to crack open the Highland Park 16 Twisted Tattoo tonight, which apparently is first fill bourbon and then Spanish Rioja wine cask. So I'll be looking forward to checking that out right now. I have some Highland Park 12 in the glass to kind of set the palate straight. So
It comes. I mean, the peat smoke is there. You get that heather, that trademark heather that you get also from most of the Highland Parks. Yeah, it's got some brininess, some maritime notes at the tail end of the nose, but it's not bad. I mean, the best part I think is the palate neat.
I can't keep up with a lot of all the stuff coming out of Highland Park, but you said I recall maybe it was last week on our show. You said you've had the Valknut and the Valkyrie or both.
Both. The red one is the first of the series. That's the Valkyrie, and then the Valknut was the middle one, and this one is the closer, the end from last year.
Got it. And so they're all part of like a series. What do you know? Are they part of a series? And if so, like what's the tie-in? They're all Val something, but
yeah, it's just their whole Viking thing that they were obsessed with for the last few years.
Yeah.
They used to do the basic 12, 15, 18, and then they changed all their bottlings to have the Viking scars, the Viking honor, and all that stuff. Yeah. And at the same time as when they released that series I guess it's been a few years ago now. The Valkyrie was the first one, and it's got like some espresso stuff, mocha notes going on. It's kind of creamy. It's a good bottle. The Valknut's more of like a cashew, peanut brittle, that kind of feel, and this one's more of like a Dark Origins meets peat. It's got like that sherry, but it's also got some of that heathery peat going on. It's very oaky.
Yeah.
Malt dark chocolate.
What's a bottle of that Val? What is it? I can't.
The Valfather.
Valfather. What's that run you?
It's about 70. You can still find it for about 70, and it's actually reasonably priced, I think, for what it is. You get some really nice chocolate with the oak. You get some basil herbs on the palate, some molasses, some caramel, and some more peat smoke at the end. Where it falls apart for me as a finish is, if you like a lot of lime, it's got a ton of lime on the finish with some white ash that you would not like probably. It's got an ashy property on the end and some black pepper on the finish. But it's really short. It fades really quickly, and the water did some really cool things on the nose, but it didn't really help the palate or the finish at all. And I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 because I thought it was better than average. But
you think it's bad? I mean, out of the three, which is the one that you liked the most?
I think that second one is probably my favorite, the Valknut, and that was. I can't remember what I scored it. Hopefully, I'm not messing it up, but I think I would have gave it like a 4.
Oh wow! Okay.
The Valkyrie, I did not like the finish of it. It just wasn't there, and that's what suffers with a lot of whiskeys for me. If I usually don't get into it, since the Lagavulin 16 alone has a great, outstanding, long-lasting finish, and if you can't like meet that criteria, to me, it just doesn't have the same, quality.
Yeah. Understandable. Cool.
The cool thing about
in terms of the smokiness on it, is it the smokiest Highland Park you've had? I know this is like the hype that they've said about it or whatever.
It is, and it's funny. The peat levels typically on Highland Parks across the board are between 12 and 15 ppm. The Valkyrie was 30 ppm. And if you want to kind of compare ppm like levels, Ardbeg is usually around a 40 to 10, and the Lefroy 10 is around a 30. So that supposedly was as peaty as the Lefroy 10. The weird thing about it, though, is if you're used to Isla peat, it's completely different than this kind of peat. This peat is...
Yeah, totally. That's that sweet heather peat thing or whatever.
Yeah, it's like got a lot of florals and other things in it too. So even though it's at that higher level, it doesn't feel like it if you're like us, where we've tasted the Ardbeg 10, Lefroy 10, right, and you get that kind of power. The power doesn't come off the same way. So this is supposedly 35 to 40 ppm, which is about the same as an Ardbeg or Lefroy.
That's like, I think this has been talked about in some forums, and everybody's going to have their own subjective like experience, but you see things like the Octomore and stuff, which are like 100 ppm, 200 ppm, but like at some point, I don't know if you can actually taste more than a certain amount of ppm, so it's almost just kind of more a marketing thing than anything. I've had some Lefroigs, which I thought were maybe even more smoky peaty than things that are higher ppm. But it is subjective to some degree. But I'm not sure like how much it actually translates the ppm to your experience objectively, right?
Yeah, because that experience is either augmented or diminished by the smoke level. Because the peat level and the smoke level, even though they kind of work in tandem, you can have a heavily peated Scotch and have little smoke, and vice versa. You can have a lot of smoke on a Scotch and not have any peat.
Yeah, that's totally true. It took me a while to understand that difference as I was getting into single malt, because I used to just associate peat with smoke, and it's not necessarily always the case, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little dry on the finish, and that's the thing. It's if it had more of if I could taste more of like the chocolate aspects of it, or even if it was fruit. I mean, the lime is in your face on the finish right off the get-go, but it dissipates pretty quick, and once that's gone, it's like, well, it's a good glass. That's why I thought, well, 3.5 out of 5, I think, is fair.
Yeah, it's a good score.
It's it's above average, but it's not going to blow your mind like a 4+ star whiskey would, I think.
Not a bulk nut.
Well, that's.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I might have put that as 3.75. I mean, I don't think any of those blew my socks off. Like the dark is a bottle that blew my socks off. That was a 4+, maybe probably a 4.25.
That's like sherry, right? I mean, because the light and the dark were both 17-year-olds or something like that, but they were high. Yeah.
I can't remember the ABV on them, but yeah, they're definitely up there, and the price is also, of course, $250, $300.
Yeah, that's why I didn't.
Ouch.
Yeah,
I wish they were a little better with their prices on like the Fire and Ice and stuff like that, but it's a tough one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, before we get into the Highland Park talk, any further, you get anything new this week?
I just put a little order in. I was going to talk to you about it, but I'll go ahead and talk to you about it now, I guess.
Oh, right on, yeah.
I was looking, I was trying to find, I was going through my little distillery list, trying to find something a little different and new to pick up. So I'm not sure, you might have a hard time finding these. They're not expensive, but if you look on Whisky International, probably would have it. But I picked up a Ben Rennes Flora and Fauna bottle that's coming. It's a 15-year-old. It's like the distillery version.
Right.
I've heard good things about it. I've never tried it, but particularly that I can remember. I think I had a Ben Rennes, but I think it might have been independent bottling. And the other one was I looked for the Blair Athol and I couldn't find. I mean, I found a place that had it, but it was different. And I didn't know how long it was going to take to get here and all that. And because I was running a little low on juice, so I was getting a little nervous. So I better put it.
Yeah, that happening, man. We got a freaking pandemic going on. You got to keep the juice well loaded, man.
Let's just say that
you don't know what tomorrow's going to look like.
Let's just say once you get involved in one of these little tasting groups, you tend to send a lot of stuff out.
Yeah, totally.
That's the problem. Is like, I mean, I've been able to cash in on a couple of tastings so far, but there's 7 of us, and out of 7, if we're only 2 or 3 in, I've got to wait for those next 3 or 4 to come to get my stuff back. Right. So that's the only bad thing. But the other one was, oh gosh, sadly I just did this, and let me go ahead and pull it out. My sent. I just had, here we go. Oh yeah, it was the Craigellachie 17. I found a really good price on a Craigellachie. Yeah, I had the 13 and I liked it. It's kind of reminiscent of like have you ever had a Glencadam 13?
Yeah,
it's kind of got that same profile, but probably even better. And I've never had the 17. The 23 is really pricey, so that's like $2.
I see the Craigellachie 13 around. I could probably snag a bottle of that if we ever want to get into Craigellachie. But yeah, that's interesting. Yeah,
definitely go ahead and pick one up, because I might have to do that one next week, if not the Ben Rennes or something like that.
Right on, man.
But yeah, just let me know what you, because we can always do like a dual, pick 2 distilleries and go at it too. I've had pretty much all of them anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I've got a couple things. I came across this place that was selling some of the old Ballblair vintage stuff. So I grabbed an 03 and an 05.
Nice.
And they had an old Pulteney 17. So I grabbed a couple discontinued bottles, which I'm excited about. And then, I got this.
Did you find them online or did you get them local?
Yeah, I got them online. I can't remember the name of the place. I'll have to look.
Oh, it's okay.
They still had some of the old Pulteney 17 left, which is hard to find, but man, it's creeping up in price big time.
Believe it or not, they still have some at Petite too. If you get low and you really fall in love with it, like some people love that stuff. They don't have any 21. They used to have some 21 too for a while, but they still have some 17 on the shelf out there.
Really? What are they charging for that?
Like $130, I think it was.
Yeah, that's about what you're going to find it for these days. Yeah, I don't know if it's $130 dram or not, but yeah.
I think it's well worth it because I remember that's about what I think I paid like $125 for it. And that's a damn good whiskey for 17, I mean, 21, of course, is maybe a little better, but we're talking old 21. And that's like, that was a lot more. They don't even
do the 21 anymore. Now it's just like an 18 and the 25, if I'm not mistaken. The new range of old Pulteney.
They got a 25, but yeah, they messed up and they just have like a 15, 18, and a 25. And I'm like, wow, crazy. The 15 I love. I just did not get into the new 18 that much. I'm not sure have you had any of the new stuff yet?
No. I'm gonna buy the 15, but I've not seen the 18 yet, and I haven't pulled the trigger on it.
I would probably pass on that anyway.
Yeah.
Say again?
I said the 25 is just way outside my price range.
It wasn't all that. I mean, it was better than the. It's funny. Out of all the drams they had at this Whiskey Expo thing, they you go through them, but I started with the oldest, which it had a 35, right? And that stuff was like soapy. I mean, it was weird. I don't know if they didn't let it. They probably didn't pour it and didn't let it sit out like it needed to open up. That's the problem with some of these expos. They just like pour and toss kind of thing. Yeah. But a whiskey like that, you need like 30 minutes just to let it sit out and get some oxygen. But it was a bit soapy to me. The 25 was better, but it wasn't as good, I thought, as the damn 15.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've heard good things about the 15, so I'm excited to get into that one. But that's, I think I have a bottle of 12, which is fine. You can't go wrong with it. It's cheap. You can get it sub $40 in some places. So
yeah, that's a good deal.
Yeah, and so I'm working on this Highland Park 12 right now, which is one of my favorite, just kind of everyday set it and forget it pours. Like it does a little bit of everything. But I'm gonna get into this Twisted Tattoo here in a little bit, which I'm really excited about. Have you had this one?
Yes, luckily that's that far end red box. That was the one after the Velknut that I had. I like it a lot. To me, it was a really nice fruit vanilla bomb. Hopefully you get the same kind of fill from it.
Yeah, that makes sense because it's first fill bourbon. I mean, it's a first fill bourbon and then it's, yeah.
I love the fact they put a 16-year-old old, year statement on it.
Yeah, and it's 46.7%, man.
And it's like $100. I mean, it's not expensive for a 16-year-old whiskey either.
Yeah, I found this for, I think it was 80. 85?
Wow, even better. There you go.
Kind of about where I was sitting. I'm not sure if that's normal, but
I think for this release,
so it's first fill Spanish Rio wine and then first fill bourbon too. So yeah, I can imagine this is going to be heavy, rich flavor because man, that's a lot of first fill.
And that like brings music to my ears compared to refill cask. But I have a feeling it's got to be for the peat, but I don't want to overthink it either.
Yeah, for sure.
You have to tell me what you think. So this is an uncorking, huh?
It is an uncorking, yeah. It's open and yeah, we'll see what happens.
I still had some left. I went through that bottle fairly quick.
No, that's a good sign, man. That's a good sign.
I don't think you'll be disappointed. I mean, the only reason I think anyone would not like that bottle is if they had kind of a weird feeling about heavy vanilla, because it is a fruit vanilla bomb. No joke.
Yeah. I mean, the age statement is honestly what sold it. If it didn't have the age statement, I probably would have thought twice because, I mean, it's got all this kind of, again, in very Highland Park fashion, this just very marketed, which Basically what you're saying is like the Valfather, Valknut range ain't bad. That's good to know.
It's like a little bit above average. I give it like the whole series is probably like a 3.5 to 3.75, depending on how I'm feeling,
Yeah.
Hey, there's John Belushi. I didn't know he was a fan of my channel.
Back from the dead?
I think he is. Good to see you, man.
They took the bar. They took the whole fucking bar. Took a bottle of Jack Daniels for us tonight, man. Stay in character.
Say that again. Sorry, I missed you.
Oh yeah, you remember that in Animal House when he like chugs the freaking bottle of Jack Daniels and he comes after he comes outside and he's like, they took the whole fucking bar. Not having it. Dude's like fucking 35, living in the college frat house.
Oh man, that's a classic.
Oh yeah, you can't go wrong. All right, well, I've set the palate with the Highland Park 12, which again, solid stuff.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put some of this in the glass. I'll let it sit for a little bit. 16 years old, so we'll see.
Yeah, newer or old on the 12, you can't really go wrong. I've heard. I mean, I kind of maybe got a little bit more matchstick on the new version of the 12, but I think only because they're using some more fresh material, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I did a comparison.
A
comparison of the 12 and the 12 Viking Honor, which I bought within about a year of each other. I do love Highland Park 12 as just like an everyday pour. I feel like you get a little bit of everything in terms of the range of single malt flavor. And honestly, it's relatively cheap. It's just never done me wrong. So I just I did a comparison between the two a couple months ago and did a video on it. And my overall feeling was there was a difference. The Viking Honor tasted a little younger, a little sharper. But I can't say definitively, because the whole controversy is does the label change mean they've changed the juice? And for this, it's it could, the difference wasn't strong enough in my case that I couldn't just chalk it up to batch variation.
Yeah.
But, I know some folks still have have noticed stronger differences between the two. I didn't quite pick it up as much. I still like both of them, but if I had a choice, I have two of the older ones, which I'll, keep around. They're good. Those are if I had a choice, I'll sip those two.
Yeah, it's too bad that you can't do once you buy the bottle that you can't replicate it again, so you run out of that juice, because once you go through it and they sell out of all of it, you can never get it again. It's the saddest thing ever.
Yeah. Oh,
the whole ball Blair thing is man, I wish I had a huge bottle of that, either 90 or 99 or 83, any of that stuff, man. Vintage stuff is awesome.
The 83 is hard to, that one's hard to find. I have two of the 90, one of the 99, and then I got an 03 and an 05, which I love. I got the Ball Blair 90s last year for $1.49. I mean, it was so stupid.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, I'll make sure to bottle up a sample for you. Snack asked where I'm from. Well, I'm from Milwaukee originally, but I live in Philadelphia right now, West Philly. Anybody from Philly around here?
Looks like
yeah. So I'm in Philly. Daniel said I had to leave. What did you end up pouring for us? Oh, I was working on the Highland Park 12. I just poured the 16 Twisted Tattoo. I'm letting it sit here for a few minutes, and I want to get into it. But so I'd be curious, actually, to continue on the Highland Park theme. You sound like you're a pretty big fan of their stuff by and large. What are your go-to, out of all the Highland Parks you've had, which are your favorites?
Oh man, and I have had a bunch. From the core range, talking well, let's start with the basics. The Magnus is their entry level, kind of reminiscent of a Select for Lafroig or an O from Ardbeg or the Wee Beastie, whatever. The Magnus is a good dram. It's $35. I would much rather have that than Johnny Walker Black.
Agreed.
I think it's a good pour. 12, like you said, everyday go to. 15 is special to me because it's the perfect price point. It's very affordable. But I don't even know if they do the 15 anymore.
Discontinued, I think.
Yeah.
I don't see the 15 anywhere anymore.
The old 18 was probably my favorite even, I mean, I like the 25 because it was like kind of like the 18 with some even more tropical notes to it. But is
Yeah.
it worth the price difference from 40 to crazy money like $500, $600? No, it's just not worth it. It doesn't make sense. So the 18, I'd say, as far as regular releases, was my favorite.
And that's the old 18, not the Viking Pride.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any difference between them, to be honest with you. I'd love to do a comparison at some point. But the full volume was good for a straightforward. The Dark Origins was good for a straightforward sherry, but it was great out of the box, and I think it got really bad after a few months. I don't think it oxidized well for me, but I did love it like right out of the bottle. And the 3 series are okay, and that 16 was really, really good that you're drinking tonight, that Twisted. The Fire and Ice were really good. The Fire is real safe.
Oh, you really had a lot of Highland Park. Damn.
I
only dream of trying some of these that you're mentioning.
Well, the Fire is reminiscent of like a Longmorn 16, a real savory, spicy dram. It's usually $250 nowadays. I don't think it's worth that. I think it should be priced like at $150 maybe. It is 15 years, so it does have a little age on it, but $250 for a 15-year, even if it's specialized, I don't know. The ice was better. I thought the ice tasted really good. It's probably the best of between the two. And the dark and the light were really good. I like the dark more than the light, but some people like vice versa. Depends on how much you like your sherry versus your bourbon, dark light still. But
Daniel Cass just dropped in and said that they had done a side-by-side of the new Highland Park and the old Viking Pride, and it tasted about the same to them. I've only had the Viking Pride, yeah. Anyway, continue.
If I had to buy something today, I would go 18 if I'm not spending a whole lot of money. I mean, it's already over $100, so it is a lot already. But if I'm going to go hardcore and buy a bottle, I probably would get the dark. That's probably their best new-ish bottle.
Yeah.
But I mean, price-wise, though, that Twisted Tattoo is definitely the best priced Highland Park bottle I think that they have. I was surprised it's not $150, to be honest with you. It should be priced around $150.
Yeah, it probably will be sooner than later.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Highland Parks go, I've had obviously the 12 and the 12 Viking Honor, if there's any difference. I've had the 18, but only the Viking Pride, which I liked a lot. I didn't love it as much as a lot of folks do, but I did like it quite a bit. And it's held price-wise pretty well over the last couple of years. It's in that 130 range, which is basically what it's been since I started drinking Scotch, which is good. I'm glad it's staying around that price. It's not bad for an 18 anymore. I've had the Magnus, which I thought was honestly pretty solid given its sub $40 price point. It actually was way better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, me too.
I have I've not had any of the like heavily more older ones. I've never had any of the Vol series or the Fire and Ice or any of those yet. I did have the full volume ones, which I thought was pretty decent. Obviously, I'm going to try this 16 here shortly.
Did you ever try the Dark Origins?
No, I never got a chance to try the Dark Origins.
Sam was asking about that. That's the one that I thought was great for the first 3 months, but if you don't drink it fast, that stuff is insane.
Yeah.
25 is decent as far as I like the taste, but I just don't think it's worth anywhere near the price point.
Yeah, I did get my hands recently on a 12-year-old single cask, which is like 65% ABV. They did this. It comes in like a baggie. I'll grab it eventually, but they did these regional releases, and they all got different names. The one I got is called the Highland Park Riptide. It's a 12-year-old single cask. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, the other one. So my 100th review is coming up relatively soon, and I'm going to do this one. This is the new 21.
I can't wait to see how good or bad that's going to be. I hope it's great.
Yeah, so I think that this is the first release of it. They have a second release out now. It's clearly like the Viking kind of bottle again. I'm really excited to get into this one. I'm gonna do an uncorking of it for my 100th review because it's kind of a special bottle. But Yeah, this will be the oldest Highland Park I've ever had. And again, the ABV is different. I know a lot of people have had the old Highland Park 21, which was like a little bit higher ABV, probably a better whiskey, but we'll see. But yeah, this is the new one. And so I'm going to check this out. Looking forward to it. It should be a kind of a special little treat for 100th review, video review, and all that. So we'll see what happens with that. But it'll be fun.
There's some really good independent bottlings. I had a 25-year-old cast strength Highland Park one time I found, and it was only like $250. I mean, $250 is a lot of money, but for a 25-year-old Highland Park full, like cast strength, you can't beat that price. You know what I mean? Compared to a $500 distillery bottle, it's night and day difference. It's like half the price, and it was pretty good. I brought it up to New York and had it around, and the bottle didn't last very long.
Yeah, right. So you said you've got your hands on. Have you had? You said the oldest one you've had was the 20. The 20.
25 is the 25 distillery bottle and independent bottling is the oldest one that I tasted by them.
Oh wow, man! Yeah, that's got to be a treat. I can only imagine what a 25-year-old Highland Park is.
It's basically you take the 18 and add even more tropical notes to it, like coconut and more.
Same thing that happened to me with the Lafroig 25. The tropical notes really came through a lot more.
Did you like it?
Oh yeah. That's a damn good pour.
That's the thing about the older Lafroigs. I think I was spoiled. I had some older ones, but I think I had them too early in my whiskey journey because I don't think I appreciated the peat with the other flavor. I was used to wanting that peat to be more in my face, and as you know, once you get past 18, that peat really gets subtle. And
oh yeah, for sure. It's the 25 is still pretty subtle, like as you mentioned, and I know each year it's a little bit different. They got a little different ABV. It's a bit more of a I think sometimes even what they age them in is a little different. I don't recall. The one I had was like from 2015, I think. I still have a bottle of it. I'm working my way through. I really only bust it out for special occasions, but it's really good stuff. And again, no, it's just price. Like if it ranges anywhere from like $350 on the low end, which I think is probably borderline worth it. Pull the trigger, but man, I've seen it upwards of $500-600.
Yeah,
crazy.
Anytime I see it, it's always like way above 300. I'm just like, damn, Dustin's a big fan. He says the 25 is a must-own bottle. It's one I'll replace as long.
So what's up, PH? How you doing, buddy?
Wow.
Yeah, no, the 25 is good. Speaking of Lafroig, though, so if the world wasn't rife with a pandemic right now, at Fisile, the festival, today's Lafroig Day. So if you have one, maybe later after pour yourself a Lafroig, and we can give a little toast to Lafroig Day, which is happening on Isla. Well, was happening on Isla today in a certain way. I got a bottle of Lore here, so I'll probably do a round of this. But if you got yourself a Lafroig, we can cheers one of those a little later.
Believe it or not, I still have a little Fino cast.
Oh, nice! Yeah, well, good night for it.
It's literally like the heel. I was debating on whether to do like a review of it. The tough thing about doing reviews for that kind of stuff is you can barely find it anymore once it's a couple of years after the Carriages series is over. But I might have a little sip with you. But I might have something a little different. I did pour something earlier that I think you would find interesting. It's a distillery called Kinenvie. Have you heard of them before?
Yeah, but I don't know anything about it. So,
oh man, they're a weird kind of an anomaly as far as the way they do their thing. This one is crazy old. The only reason I got this one because not only is it expensive crap, I don't want to say crap, but expensive stuff, I should say.
Yeah.
It's very good, but it's a 23-year-old, and they have a 17-year-old. The weird thing is they only do these weird sized bottles, like 375 milliliters. They don't
like a Tiki whiskey company type thing. Yeah,
they don't.
Is it you said?
Kinenvie. It's a Kininvie. They have a 23 and they have a 17.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at the 17 right now. Yeah.
This one, luckily, from Mr. Aquaman back in the day, I had it when we were doing our review, and I saved some of it because I couldn't believe that I was sent a 23-year-old whiskey, but blew my mind. It's a 42.6%, so it's a little bit above 40 at least. It's bourbon oak and sherry oak, and I might sip a little bit on this. This one reminds me a lot of like a really good Japanese whiskey. It's got that Hibiki 1721 kind of feel to it.
Oh, interesting.
They use a lot of it in blends. I think they use the younger stuff with monkey shoulder, and I think that's why it does so well because they blend it with like a couple other. I forgot what the other two distilleries are, but it's definitely more on the sweeter end. It's got a ton of fruit in it. And has a little bit. I mean, even though it's ex-sherry oak casks in America, ex-bourbon American oak, it's still got that enough on both sides to make it interesting.
Yeah. So somebody, Daniel, just popped in saying we should consider some night doing an Altmore night. He's drinking the 18 and he says it's fantastic. I don't know what your experience is with Altmore. I have the 12 open, which I've been pretty much enjoying so far, but I don't know much about any of their other stuff. The 12 is a relatively decent price, 46% non-chill, kind of like very barley. For reminded me kind of like of the Brook Lottie range, the Isla barley stuff a little bit. Sweet, kind of grassy, floral, a little bit of floral. Almost reminded me a little bit of like some of the Glenmorangie 15. I don't know if you've had any Altmores.
Yeah, the 18, I actually was lucky enough to have that as part of the same series when Aquaman, Paul, and Praney and I were going through them. It's the nose is full of nice vanilla, honeysuckle, barley, and sweet white grapes.
Sounds right.
The palate is a warm, inviting layer of butter, cream, icing, oil with a heavy mouth coat. Vanilla is definitely in your face neat, and the finish is a tad hot with dry alcohol. I put a few drops of water on it to see what else I can get from the glass, and it got grapes and light fruit come more on the forefront of the nose. Then it became had like almost like a white wine quality to it. The water helped with the finish, I thought. Very buttery. I thought it was pretty complex for what it was. I back then I gave it a 3.25, but I think I would have gave it a higher score.
Oh, really?
I think I should have gave it like a 3.75. Really, just thinking about it was one of those where it was so different. I couldn't really think about how I felt about it because it was a vanilla bomb.
Yeah.
But I think after that, I came to appreciate it more, if that makes any sense.
Sure. Yeah, I've not had the opportunity to try the 18, but I do like the 12 enough. I mean, I don't think it's anything like mind blowing, but it's a good pour. I've been enjoying it. I haven't reviewed it yet or anything, but I've been slowly sipping on it for a little while. All right, I got to run and get a little bit of water, but when I come back, I'll jump into this 16. So I'll catch you in just a couple of minutes.
Sure. I'll do a little taste of this Kennedy 23. Well, thanks again to Aquaman. Hopefully you're feeling a lot better. He was unfortunately dealing with the old COVID-19 and actually was hospitalized the whole 9 yards. So, but I think he's been home for a while, and this is for you, man. Cherries and peaches and oranges, heavily on the fruit. Some nice sweetness though, some nice sugary confection pastry. A little ginger in there. Oh, good. Last I heard, at least doing better. That's a good thing. Dan thinks I nailed it. Oh, I appreciate it, man. Yeah. I thought it was really good. I can't believe I only gave it a 3.25. I think it's because I was a bit of a peat snob, and it was hard for me to get, I think, into drams that didn't have at least some peat or smoke or something like that in it. And it was, I definitely have a higher appreciation for the Altmore 18, that's for sure. Oh, I love that nose, man. Marshmallows, even. Like fruit cocktail, but the good quality, not the canned crap. Huh. Just can't believe the deepness of the cherries on the like Luxardo cherries. Have you ever had a Luxardo cherry? Oh my goodness. Luxardo cherries, look it up. If you haven't ever had one, you should get one. Good to see you, one. There he is.
Hey, I'm back. While I was up, I grabbed just so I could show you and everybody what this single cast Highland Park that I was talking about looks like. So it comes in one of these baggies, right? So this is the one for the like mid-Atlantic region. It is first fill European oak sherry punch in 65.5% ABV. It's 12-year. I know some of the single cast releases that they did like this based on region, some were older. That's what the bottle looks like. Yeah, this one is mid-Atlantic. I know there's a couple other ones for the Northeast, for other regions around the country. I think some of them are, some are older, some are younger, but 65.5. This should be relatively interesting. I mean, it sucks it's only 12 years old, but it's the only one I could get. Figured I have to give it a try at some point.
I think it'll be pretty darn good for that ABV, man. That's insane. If you order from California, I think you can get a California bottle. I think I saw looking around. I might have to snag that just to see if if it's a lot different or if it's any better or worse, or how it works with the different regions that you were talking about.
Yeah. All right. Time to jump into this Twisted Tattoo. Here's the bottle. Totally opaque bottle with a bunch of art on it.
Don't you love that?
Yeah, I wish, what I wish they would do, and like there's a Ardbeg Black bottle was like this, some of the Bruichladdich stuff, like they could just put a little line on the side that showed you the fill level, like just a clear line along the side of it. Like, come on, I like to know how much whiskey is in there.
Yeah, I was just today with this. I was trying to figure out. I was like, well, I can hear it, but I can't.
Right.
I had to get a flashlight out to try to see where the damn fill level was.
Yeah, totally. All right. So it's really kind of rich on the nose. Heavy vanilla, man. Berries, too. Maybe like some other type of sweet fruit. I don't know what it is. 46.7%. So,
It's a nice, solid ABV, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Of course, it'd be great if it was
46.7.
Can't be too picky. Oh, wow. Yeah, this definitely tastes like a Japanese whiskey. It's really funny. It's really good, but man, I'm gonna have to pull up the price on these and see what they're charging for this stuff now. It's got to be crazy. I'm sure.
Nose on this is pretty nice.
What else are you getting from it?
It's honestly, it's kind of two notes, but they're both strong, which makes sense because, like I was saying earlier, the first fills, right? It's like berries. There's also some other type of like stone fruit thing going on. I'm not quite sure. And then just vanilla caramel.
Interestingly, they supposedly have a bottle of this in the Netherlands for only €127. DC, Modern Liquors, which I've never been to. Have you been to Modern Liquors in DC? They supposedly have it for $230. I mean, that's a lot more. But it's not shipping, but $230 for it says 750 milliliter bottle. I don't believe it. They're all $350 across the board that I'm aware of, unless it might be like an independent bottle or something.
Wow, this is real spicy.
Spicy as far as like white pepper or?
Yeah, the pepper note is heavy on this. Again, neck pour. But yeah, just kind of as expected, rich. I think you were saying vanilla bomb earlier. Totally. It's more of a toffee, not toffee. It's more caramel, but yeah, there's a vanilla caramel thing for sure. It's got a nice spiciness and kind of almost an alcohol bite on the end.
Are you getting any like
aggressive than I would expect for a 16-year-old? But
are you getting any like more what's the word for it? Medium red fruits at all, like strawberry?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like same as on the nose. It's berries.
Yeah, like strawberry, raspberry.
Right.
I think it's because you're in the neck pour. Once you get a little bit more into it, I'm hoping that it won't be as heavy on the spice level.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, obviously neck pours are what they are, but yeah, not bad. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you ever do that thing? And I'm trying to remember what it's called. There's a term for it. I'm trying to remember what it is. Where you have your bottles, right, and your older stuff that you might not go through quickly. Like, do you ever tip the bottle and have it resettle? Like, I've heard some people like to get their corks wet every once in a while.
Oh yeah, for that. Honestly, I don't think I've had anything that stayed open quite long enough for that. I don't know. I've not done it, but I've put gas on a couple things,
Yeah.
but rarely. I don't know. I don't really bother with it much anymore.
What about you guys in the chat? I'm just curious because if there's it's called back something back not backdraft but back or backwash. I don't want to say backwash. It's back something where you tilt the bottle up and set it down. I think I might have seen it on another whiskey channel. I can't remember. This was a long time ago, but I think it's because you get that the sediments and the not for gas purposes, but like the sediments and the in some of the, I guess, particles or whatever, it gets, you kind of want to get a little more stirred up. But Daniel's asking if you get any banana on the.
It's more of like a tropical fruit thing. A bit. It's like a kind of Foster chocolate banana thing. On the finish, though, I didn't get it anywhere until on the finish. It's what's lingering right now. So it's actually funny that he mentioned that right now. That's what I'm getting more now. But yeah.
So I know what cinnamon is, Swami. I'm not talking about the cinnamon itself. I'm talking about when you the act of taking an old bottle, tipping it. I think it's like a back tip. You tip it and you set it back down and let it resettle. There's like an actual term for it I've heard before, but I can't remember what it was. Yeah, keep the draw. You tip the bottle to keep the cork from drying out. But thankfully, I've only had a cork disintegrate on me once that I can remember.
You did?
Maybe twice. Yeah. Have you ever had one disintegrate on you before?
I mean, I've had a couple break. I had one break that I recall right when I opened it, and it was what was that? Wild Turkey Rare Breed. But I haven't had any disintegrate.
Yeah, sadly, it was my Mountain Decades bottle.
Wetting the cork periodically prevents it from disintegrating. Is that the idea?
Yeah, that's part of it. Plus, you want the flavor to be not, it's kind of like the density of things. Once you let things settle for a long, long, long time, the sediment is all at the bottom, and you really want to be able to taste the whole thing as one, idea.
Yeah.
I think it's part of this whole back tipping thing. But A Silverlock, good to see it. He just kind of came in.
Oh, Silverlock.
It's just called the tip, I guess. That's fine. I could have swore there was another name for that, but I'll have to try.
Just the tip, Swami. Just the tip.
Keep extra corks.
It's Tuesday, man. We can't be going further than the tip tonight.
It happened on my Tomatin Decades bottle, which really pissed me off because that was a really good bottle too. So what I ended up doing is getting unbleached coffee filters.
Metaphors are flying. Unbleached, just the tip. What? Continue.
Wow. Unbleached coffee filter, and then put that, in another bottle, and then pour it through and let it like filter out. That was the only way I could save that bottle. It was crazy, but I'm glad I did because it was extremely good.
What bottle was it?
The Tomatin Decades bottle.
Tomatin Decades. Okay.
Yeah, it's got 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and aughts juice in it, man. Old stuff.
That's one I don't even think I don't. Is that still readily available?
The new one is. They have a Decades 2 that just came out recently. I haven't tried it. I don't know if it's as good as the first one, but it's worth a little dabble. I mean, and Tomatin is not expensive. I don't think it was much more than $100 for the bottle, so it wasn't like I was spending hundreds and hundreds on it either. For that old stuff too. I'm sure now they're not probably using 60s. They're probably using 70s, 80s, 90s, aughts, and 10s most likely, if I had to take a guess. But
depends even on her tips, bleach and grinding. Oh man, this is a family show, y'all. What are you talking about?
I'm not even going to ask what's going on. I'm lost.
Oh man,
it sounds like a bad hair dye job or something.
Yeah, or maybe something more than that. Yeah. All right. So Highland Park 16 Twisted Tattoo. Okay. I don't know. It's not. It's very, again, first fills. The first fills are super assertive on this, and so it kind of is clouding any complexity that may exist in this. Again, we'll see what time gives it, but it's not bad.
Try just 2 drops of water too. I want to see what that does for you, because
that
might tame the spice just enough where you still get that fruity vanilla bomb action, but you don't get that spice in your face, hopefully.
Yeah.
But I would literally just do 1 or 2 little eye drops of stuff, maybe.
Yeah, I just put like, I don't know, half teaspoon in, so we'll see. Yeah, it's still vanilla dominant.
No, Mark, it's not a decanter. I know what that is. No, this was just tipping the bottle for a little bit and then putting it back. What do you think? A little bit different?
Yeah, it's, again, kind of predictably, it tastes the spice, but there's like a citrus. There's that kind of tart citrus thing coming through on this now. Lemon lime almost. More lime.
Yeah, that's what the water. I remember bringing out a little more of a citrus kind of a flavor, but it's fun to play around with as far.
Yeah, I can definitely tell. I mean, like first fills like this where you just get that heavy overcoat of, the dominant kind of 1 or 2 notes that. I mean, this is first fill bourbon and first fill Spanish wine, and so not surprised that it's like intense on that. Really like heavy mouthfeel on this too.
I mean, would you rather have a little bit too much than not enough?
Right. Exactly.
That's the way I always look at it.
Not bad at all. I think I got this for like 85 bucks, something like that, which is, again, for a 16-year-old these days, I don't know. I mean, there's a few 18-year-olds you can get sub $100. I mean, Tomatin 18 is one of them. I think sometimes you can find the Loch Lomond. I mean, there ain't many 18s that. I mean, there's some blends, of course, but single malts, there ain't too many.
I would let that one grow on you too. I think I remember getting it better once I got around the halfway point. So if you are going to do a review on that one, I would probably do it right when you hit that like half level. That way you really get what you think.
Yeah, I'll probably do a review eventually of it. I don't know, we'll see, but definitely not ready to now. But
it's definitely much different than what Highland Park usually gives you, and that's what I like about them. They're very, even though they always have decent quality, even if it doesn't blow you away, they always release something interesting. I do like the way they they're not afraid of trying different things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, God, like we were saying earlier, man, there's just so many different Highland Parks on the market. I mean, you've seemed like you've got the opportunity to try a lot of them. There's so many I've just not even had the chance to try yet. That, I mean, I've seen some of them are just so damn expensive. Right? The fire and ice. Like I remember seeing those bottles and I was like, looked like some shit out of like a He-Man set that you bought in like 1988. You know what I mean?
Steak Mountain, bitches. Steak Mountain. I remember that.
Like, what is this like freaking monument that I got to pray to?
Castle Grayskull.
Grayskull, right? I was like, holy Christ, what are they doing? But
it gets worse.
So if the juice is good, I'll handle the strange marketing flair, which Highland Park has got a lot of that going on, but I mean, maybe it's working for them. And like you said, I mean, it seems like, like the thing you reviewed tonight, and you mentioned the Valknut and a couple others, like, marketing aside, it seems like they're putting out some relatively interesting juice. I mean, you seem to have had good experiences with a lot of them.
It gets crazier too. I mean, what's interesting about them is they have not just the fire and ice stuff, but and I never tried any of these, but if you're a hardcore fan, like Aquaman is a huge Highland Park fan, he's got like the Odin and the Thorfinn and all these crazy ass Ragnalds and all the stuff that you would only get if you got the high end bottles from like 5-6 years ago, plus all the Travel Retail exclusive. They have a bunch of Travel Retail bottles. They're always pretty decent though. I haven't had a bad one per se, like the Four Oak that we had, but
the Four Oak.
They're not like, they're not like blow you away great either. They're kind of like, 3.5 out of 5 star drams usually, like the Einar and the Sven. I've had those two.
You have the wing. There's another 16. It's called like the Wings of the Eagle. I don't know.
Yeah, Spirit of the Wolf is like a 14.
Spirit of the Wolf, the Claw of the Bear. I don't know. Curl of the Burl. I don't know.
Curl of the Burl. Isn't that a Mastodon song?
It is a Mastodon song. Yes.
I was gonna say.
Yeah. All right. You picking up what I'm throwing down. All right. We're just gonna dive right into talking about Mastodon, right? I mean, look, if Mastodon branded a whiskey, it would be a Highland Park whiskey.
It would definitely be a Highland Park.
Right? It would be called some ridiculous thing, right? Like it'd
be the new PDS whiskey. It'd be the new PDS line. They would go up to they would be going against the Octomore, and they would go 160 ppm.
They'll be serving it in like cold Jello shots at their shows. You know, the whatever, man. You know, the tusk of the Mastodon and some shit. Like, I don't know, man.
Crazy.
Yeah, dude. They're
by the power of Highland Park Fire. Yeah, I was looking at Andrew. That's funny. That brought back memories. But you're right. It looks like a set you got from like your He-Man play set or something.
Yeah, it does. Well, I mean, even this one, this twisted tattoo. I mean, like literally, like everything on the back of this bottle until the third paragraph is just all talking about some freaking tattoo artist who like. It's ridiculous, man. It's like, I'm just gonna say it's just straight up ridiculous. Like right on, right? You're profiling some kind of local Danish artist. Like, okay, that's cool if you're into tattooing and whatever. But like, man, it doesn't get down to the whiskey until like the third paragraph. This is all just like about this tattoo artist, and then it's just tasting notes on the side. Like, man, they put so much in here. So here's what they got to say. A high proportion of first fill Rioja wine cask married with a smaller proportion of first fill bourbon. 153 casks laid down between 11th of May 2000 and 29th October 2001, filled into 220-liter first fill Rioja wine casks in January, March 26 at 59.5%. 70% or 70 first fill bourbon casks, 1999, filled at strength 63.6 and 63.7. Very important. Cask married together September 2018 and filtered at 4 degrees Celsius. I mean, like, okay, like that's a lot of freaking information about the whiskey, but boy, everything else on here, you're just like, it's like a novel.
That's the problem. It's
like there's a booklet inside too.
That's my only complaint about Highland Park is they know how to make whiskey, but I wish they knew how to better market it to not just people that like a good shtick, but something, you know, that where you get a little more out of the actual juice.
Yeah, well, here, look at this. I know we're ripping on Highland Park a little bit, but so there's a booklet inside, and here's the whiskeys they profile.
Oh wow! We
got 12 Viking Honor, Valknut, 18-year-old Viking Pride, Spirit of the Bear, Loyalty of the Wolf, Wings of the Eagle, which is also a 16-year-old.
Yeah, some of these I think might be their new travel retail too. I think the Spirit of the Wolf or Bear might be because they
got a whole quote from the tattoo artist. Thirsty for more information? If you need more information, HighlandParkWhiskey.com/inner circle. You can get all you need to know. I mean, all right, right on. You know, okay. I get it. Clearly it's working. I think it's cool that they're, like you said earlier, to your point, they're releasing a whole bunch of different stuff that's kind of creative. They're trying different things. That's cool. But, you know, we can poke a little fun at their, like, over the top marketing. This is a trip, man.
One thing that they have learned from us, I think, recently is the age statement thing. I've noticed with their travel retail, they used to use like the Sven and the Ragnald and all that. Now, even though they're using the gimmicky Spirit of the Wolf and Wings of the Dragon and all that crap, at least they're putting the age statements on there, which makes me feel a little bit better what I'm getting.
That's why I bought this. I'm not sure. You know, for $90, would I have pulled the trigger on this if it didn't have the age statement? I mean, I do like the idea of the first fill wine and the first fill bourbon. I think that's cool, but. Man, they must be having a goddamn renaissance up there with all this stuff. I mean, they must have barrels up the ass, man. It's crazy.
I would let that one oxidize a bit too to see if it changes more towards your liking. Because I remember that I loved it a little more once it had a little more time to breathe. So hopefully, if you get like a pour next time you do a pour, let it sit out maybe for a little longer. See if it. That spice is kind of tough though. Sometimes you add water, you get more spice. That happens to me a lot. So
yeah,
you never know what you're going to get with the pepper level.
Yeah, that's for sure.
The first bottle, you're right.
Long story short, it's like the whiskey's not bad at all, but my God, they got so many animal-based and Viking-based whiskey. I don't know what to make of this stuff, man.
Do you think they'll stick with Vikings and animals, or do you think they'll go?
I don't know. I mean, I felt like they started doing this as like a Game of Thrones thing. You know what I mean? I think they were like trying to jump on to the hype around Game of Thrones and like, hey, obviously there was the Game of Thrones whiskey, but also like they just, I mean, there's got to be something, right? There was some Viking show on TV. Maybe they're just trying to like jump on board with this. And I mean, like, you got to sell your whiskey, and like to the extent that this marketing introduces people who maybe wouldn't have drank single malt to new single malt, like, okay, but for the most part, let's be real, it's a little bit gaudy and over the top, if I'm being real.
Oh, I hear you. No, I agree. I mean, I know why, as far as the Orkney Islands being like part of the Viking nation and all that mess, but yeah, I mean, it did seem like they were kind of timing it in with the whole explosion of the Game of Thrones thing at the same time too.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like when you read this again, like what they highlight and the way that they explain this whiskey tells you all you need to know about what they're trying to sell you. They're trying to sell you a brand, not necessarily a whiskey, right? I mean, this is like freaking history of some Arabian envoy with encountering Viking traders on the Volga River, and all like they're clearly trying to sell you an experience that's connected to the brand.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'll give them props where props is due on the 16-year-old. I mean, they could have put this at 40% ABV.
I wouldn't have bought it for that. That's for sure.
Right.
If it was an NAS and it was 40%, I would have laughed.
Yeah, I mean, Magnus, right? But Magnus isn't that, or Magnus might not even be 40%.
$35 though. I mean, it probably is 40. Let me look if I can reach it without breaking something. Hold on one second.
Yeah. Proud to stand apart is the branding on this. All right.
Yeah, it's only 40.
We don't have to belabor this anymore. I've went on long enough, but it's 40%.
It's 40. So it's. I mean, if you are going to spend $35 on a dram, and pretty much you can only afford a Monkey Shoulder, like a Johnny Walker Black, or something of that realm. I think the Magnus is actually something that.
Yeah,
it's kind of a good change if you want like a different type of, something for your daily drinker.
Not bad whiskey. I mean, it is what it is for the price, but I don't think it's, again, their marketing is what it is. I mean, there are a couple other. I mean, maybe this, I'm trying to think. There's a few other. Johnny Walker, obviously notorious with their like over the top marketing.
As far as single malts, can you think of anyone that's over the top? I mean, I know a lot of people think Ardbeg is like that, but I don't think they're as bad as Highland Park.
I mean, Ardbeg is like they're trying, but they like for some reason they still keep it a little tight, right? Like they're not just putting out everything under the sun. But like Highland Park might stand alone on this, but again, man, it's not that it's bad whiskey. It's just kind of like you feel a little goofy buying it sometimes. You're like, all right.
One thing I wish Ardbeg would take note of on Highland Park is the age statements, and at least they did the Trevon recently, that 19-year-old that was newer with an age statement. Hopefully, that's kind of in the new 5 Beastie. Maybe they're getting into that where they're going to do more age statements. Hopefully, too.
Yeah, I mean the Wee Beastie. I mean the fact that they threw the 5-year on there. Like, I mean, right on. They could have went the Lefroy Select route and just like basically told anybody who's into whiskey, like, we don't give a fuck.
That would have been bad.
Like, you know what you're buying with it. Like it's the selection of crap. But I mean, I don't think the Wee Beastie is probably something I'm going to buy again, especially because it's still too close in price to the 10. 5-10, for literally like less than $10 more, you can get the 10. Why even bother?
Yeah,
it's just a way better whiskey. But
I got a question for you. Like how we're talking about the marketing and the craziness, right? They don't do marketing like Highland Park, but I tell you what, who is this Richard guy that does Dalmore? The guy that throws whiskey over his shoulder and all that.
Oh yeah, freaking bourgeois chump. Yeah.
Is it
Patterson? Yeah.
Isn't that worse than the? I mean, what is worse, the Viking
Hello.
marketing
How
or
are you? Very well, thank you.
that guy?
He's a trip, man. That guy is a trip. Yeah, he says that you should. I mean, like that was when I was. Let me just tell you, man. When I was first getting into Scotch, of course, Dalmore was one of the first whiskeys I bought, and I remember watching that dude. And I'll tell you this much, man. Even knowing little about single malt, then when that dude threw his whiskey on the floor, I was like, "What? Like,
Sacrilegious.
You're gonna tell me I need to buy a $250 bottle of cigar malt and throw it on the floor? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?"
He's lost his mind.
No, man. But he's a good showman, right? I mean, he teaches you how to know. Although he says you should shove your nose into the glass, which I think is absolutely, for me, not the way to do it. Like, if you're going to nose it, he says doing this, I remember he said in one of his videos, he'll kill you if you do this or something. Like, dude, you shove your nose in the glass. If it's anything over 40%, maybe with Dalmore, you can shove your nose.
Yeah, that's the thing. If it's 40% or lower, yeah, you can do all that.
You're going to burn the hell out of your nose, and like you're not going to be able to smell anything. That's garbage.
Yeah, to me, it's like you do have to move because you might, you leave one nostril covered. I hate to get detailed, but you leave one covered, one out of the glass, one, you get different aspects of things, how you're different depending on how you approach it.
That guy's a trip, man. I'd love to just. I can imagine that more than one time in his life, he's been out doing this show, and there's somebody there who's had a few single malts in their day, and he's like, really, man? Like, really? Is this really what you're throwing on the floor?
I couldn't believe it when I saw that. I was like,
this bourgeois, man. Like, I mean, you imagine telling a working person who just got their first bottle of $60 single malt Scotch, and they're just getting into it, and you're going to tell this dude to throw it on the floor like some Victorian age trust fund baby or something. Like, are you kidding me, man? Come on.
If I saw somebody do that to like a bottle of like Ardbeg Udal, for example, and I saw them throw it on the floor, I would get like one of those old school gloves, like those fencing gloves, and I would go out and smack the shit out of them with it.
Yeah, man.
Right in the face. And if I had a gun, I'd be like, all right, we're going to duel.
Yeah, right. I can't fully experience. I need to clean the glass by throwing whiskey on the floor. Are you out of your mind?
Sorry to bring him up.
The crowd that he's talking to is the type of people that can afford to throw their whiskey on the floor. But I'll tell you, man, I can't speak for everybody in this chat. I ain't the kind of person that'd be doing something like that.
There's no way. That's just crazy.
That's what I should do with that Highland Park 21, just to be a dick.
That's asinine, man.
Freaking absurd, man. Yeah, he's a shit.
Sorry to bring him up, but when we were talking about marketing, I was trying to think the most ridiculous marketing I could think of, and he was the one that propped up my head.
You're spot on, man. Dalmore, I don't know. And the thing is, I have not had a lot of Dalmore. I've had the 12, and then I've had a independent bottling of the 15 from that boutique whiskey company, which I had a taste of at a tasting, which was pretty good.
Oh yeah, the independent bottlings are solid on Dalmore. It's just if you haven't had the 15, you're not missing anything. It's very cloyingly sweet, very thin. The 18 I liked, but I mean, is it worth the $230 price tag they're putting on it? Fuck no. I mean, it was barely worth $160 when it was $160 before they raised it. You know what I mean? That just irked me when I saw them raise it from $160 literally to $220, $215. I'm like, that's way too crazy of a price difference, especially if it's only 43 to 46%. Excuse me, it's just not worth it.
I wonder how much. I mean, look, man, I'm not one of these people that's like plugged into the Scotch world in any real way, but I gotta wonder what people who are like reps or like that every time some rep from one of these places, somebody probably brings up like, yo, this guy from Dalmore said I should throw this, like, is this all? And they got to just be thinking to themselves like, oh my god, I've never heard anybody else say that.
I mean, if you want to deal with somebody like that, why don't we just watch like Will Ferrell do his Anchorman routine? I mean, that's the same guy, really, if you think about it, as crazy as he is.
I'm gonna throw my 18-year-old Scotch on the floor like some aristocrat. I just want a clean glass. Like, man, come on, dude.
Is it the mill version of Marie Antoinette?
20% unemployment in the United States, and you're running around talking about throwing whiskey on the ground. Fuck are you, dude?
I know what you mean. Anyway.
Anyways, yeah. So like, that's too funny, Telex. The marketing thing. I don't think. I'm trying to think of other distilleries whose marketing is over the top, or like, I mean, Macallan. I don't know. Not really. I guess.
Yeah, they're a little more the Edrington group. I can't even say it. They're a little more. What's the word for it? Crafty, I guess, with the way they market their stuff.
Yeah,
kind of geared towards more like restaurants and big business. They don't really market to people like us. It's weird. It's like they just go for the restaurant. I mean, they probably make a boatload of money on the restaurants. Everybody does have a couple Macallans. It seems like when you go to a restaurant. Same with you.
Yeah, I can't even.
It seems like I always run into like at least the 12, the 15 triple.
Yeah, the 12 for sure. The 15 sometimes, the 18, which is always like $70 for a glass or something.
It's like crazy prices for these glasses.
Yeah, no kidding, man.
It's like you got the Glenfiddich 12, you got the Glenlivet 12, and you got the Lafroy 10, and you got the Lagavulin 16 even for like $20 to $30. And then, yeah, you see the Macallan for like $60, $70 for a glass.
Well, their 12-year-old too is like $20 more on the market. I mean, but Macallan's got a name, man. They'll buy it. But at least like they're not overly gimmicky.
I hope Glendronach never becomes like Macallan. That's my biggest fear because they are that quality, I think.
Yeah,
but
you're also seeing like distilleries, Glendronach maybe being one of them, Glenallachie, which are like going in the opposite direction, which is like going the more craft approach, 46% non-chill filtered, natural color. Like
that's the way to do it, I think.
You're seeing kind of an undercurrent of that stuff.
They are very underrated distillery. I mean, if they're got to be in my top 3 underrated distilleries right now, I think.
Yeah.
Glenallachie.
I just recorded a review of this one. I finally got to the Glenallachie 15, which is Sherry, Oloroso, and Pedro Jimenez. Man, this is solid juice, and it comes out $15-$20 cheaper than the Glendronach 15. Which I still think is a little bit better, but this is really good stuff. And they just released, so Glenallachie just released a whole bunch of stuff with different finishes. They did a rye finish. They did a couple of their wine finishes. I think they're all like between 9 and 11 years. Glenallachie's doing great stuff. And like, this is the kind of stuff for, folks like us who have a little more, we're not novices with the single malt, but we're not experts, but we're not novices. And Glenallachie's kind of appealing to folks like, more on our level, I would say.
I think Glenrothes is going to be doing that more too. They're another.
I've never had a Glenrothes.
That should be one of the next ones. If you're going to look for one, they did this
Maker's Cut. I've heard good things about the Whiskey Maker's Cut.
I haven't had that one. I don't think. I had the 2000. I had a 2004. They did a vintage. Let me pull it out here. 1 second. This one was a 04 to 17. Yeah, distilled in 2004, bottled in 2017. So they don't. I mean, they're age stated, but they're not like they're more. They do more of the presentation that the old bobblers did. With the years. This was really, really good, really solid. And I think, the Berry Brothers and Rudd Company actually owns them, which I thought was interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
But they have started doing more of the years. So if you could find the 18 or 15 of this, I think you would be really happy with that. I'd be surprised if you weren't.
Yeah, I've never had any of their stuff.
Don't get any old bottles. Old bottles are not as good. The new ones are the ones you want to get when it comes to Glenrothes. Definitely. Sorry.
I've had my eye on that Whiskey Maker's Cut, which I've heard I think it's kind of closer to a cask strength, but I'm not sure. I've heard some folks in the chat, Silverlock, and I think Jimmy T are also talking a little bit about that stuff. They said they're pretty damn good.
Let's see if I can find that Whiskey Maker's Cut you're talking about. There we go. I got a 90 out of 100. That's a really good rating.
Oh, really? On Distiller?
Yeah. The user rating is 3.75, average out of 63. That's pretty good. I mean, it's solid. It's a 48.8 NAS. It's a first fill sherry oak. That sounds pretty good to me.
Ooh, yeah. I dig the sound of that.
But they do have an 18-year, man. I'd love to get my hands on that. It's sherry seasoned oak, 43%. It's a little less ABV though. I might hold out and do your whiskey maker's cut actually.
Yeah, maybe that's a bottle we should get our hands on. We could do a live uncorking tasting in like a couple weeks. Is that something you think you get your hands on?
I'll look for it. I'll let you know if I can find it.
Let me know.
If you know, if you have a scoop on something, let me know in email and I'll jump on it.
Let me take a peek, man. With Glen Rothis, right?
Yeah.
Let me take a look. This might be one that we could, both get our hands on. We could do a little live tasting. That could be a lot of fun. You're in MD, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here we go. Right here, $60 a bottle.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I'll drop this. I'll drop it in the Slack or the Slack. Listen to me. I'm like I'm at work. I'll drop it in the.
You're still at work, aren't you?
Freudian slip, brother. Freudian slip. I'm gonna drop it in the chat.
Okay.
If anybody's interested in this Glen Rothis, there's a place called Glendale Liquors out in California. Seems to have it at a good price. I don't know why my chat's acting funky. Just give me 1 second and see if I can open
Just send
it.
to an email if it gets funky.
Yeah, I will for sure.
Because it's probably gonna it's probably not gonna let you put like a site or something weird.
I dropped it in, so if you can find it, grab it.
All right. Just send it to me in an email if you don't mind. Make it easy.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's a few others too.
I'll take a look at that because if I can't get that one, I'll definitely jump on. I'm not sure how affordable the 18 is. It's probably not too bad.
The Glen Rothis 18.
Yeah, they have a few. They have a 25, but I'm sure that one's probably way.
Yeah, man. Speaking of 25s, I don't get 25s often. If DH Silva's still on, for the last couple of times I've got in the chat with him, he has been a homer for the Glen Goyne 25, which I finally got a bottle of. So he'll be happy to hear that. I'm really excited to open it. I'm gonna wait a little bit because it's gonna be kind of a special thing, but I took your advice on that, Silv, and got myself a bottle. So I'm looking forward to trying it. Here's the 18. This 18 is mostly UK, unfortunately, but there's a couple of US spots. International Wine Shop's got it for $1.30. They'll deliver to you as well.
$1.30 for an 18 is not terrible. Man, that 25 does rate really, really well. That Glengoyne you're talking about.
Yeah, man. I've heard nothing but good things. I don't know if DH Silva's still in here. I'm gonna.
Isn't that running like $400 though?
I got it for $320.
Ooh, damn! You got a great price on that, man. Because I think last time I looked,
this is only the. I'm not a rich man, man. I'll be real with you. The Glen Goyne 25 is only the fourth bottle I've ever spent over $300 for. So I bought 3 bottles of Brooklotti Blackguard 4.1 at $325 a piece, and 2 bottles of Lefroy 25 at $330, and then this. So I don't go above $300 for basically anything, man. I can't afford that kind of living, but. The Glen Goyne 25. I've just heard the hype. I've been sipping the Teapot Dram, which is amazing. I was like, I got to get my hands on this 25 because it's 48%. The 21, which I was interested in after being disappointed with the 18, the 21 was only 43%. So I was like, because you've said it before, and I think it's true. The mouthfeel on it's a little bit thin. I didn't really love the 18, so I was like, but when I saw that 25 is 48, I was like, I got to get it.
That's what I've had. I have the 18 here, and I've had the 21, I think, at like a tasting. But, yeah, I mean, the 18 to 21 price difference I don't think is worth it. The 25, though, even though it's more, it's like, wow, man, I bet that is damn good because it's 48% and it's 25 years and it's Glengoyne, which has a great, like, flavor character to it. You might have to not open that till I can get over to your place, dude.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to open it for a while, just to be honest. Like, when I get a bottle like that.
That's a COVID ending bottle. I would.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
I'll tell you what, I'll bring the Ardbeg 19 Travain and meet up with you, and we'll have to have a COVID ending party or something.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We should do it.
Hell,
So I'm going to switch over. Yeah, I'm going to, it is Lafroig Day on Isla for FISIL 2020, which isn't actually happening because of this shit, COVID. So I'm gonna pour a little Lafroig.
And same for all the other guys. If once this crazy stuff is over with, maybe we can like do a little meetup somewhere between Philadelphia and DC and get some of these other guys to show up. That would be pretty cool.
Man, we should do a whole thing, man. Any Eastern Seaboard folks, man, or folks relatively around here looking to make a drive, we should do it. We should do it.
That'd be fun.
Little party, man. It would be a lot of fun.
Let me get my pheno up here.
What's up with the 43%? Who are they kidding? I'm the 21. Yeah, totally, man. I was like, come on, man. 40. I've heard that 21 is good, and I bet it is, but 43%, I'm just like, come on, man. Look, here's the thing, and maybe you disagree with me. I think, and Swami has said this before, and I think he's totally right, whiskey should be good at 40%. The quality of the casks should show up at 40%. A lot of times, distilleries are maybe up in the ABV to get away with having less quality casks. That's probably true. That said, it's all about the actual experience. And for me, more alcohol is more flavor. Even if I will take less quality cask for higher ABV because I get more flavor out of it. That's just me. I just will. And so when I see 43% on a 21-year-old Glengoyne, then they're asking me for $180. My answer is just no. Like, no. I'm sorry. Like, that's just 43% is weak sauce for that, man. It's just weak.
The only whiskey I've ever had, and I'll give Dalmore a little credit here. The only whiskey I've ever had at 40% that did blow my socks off with a drop or two of water was that King Alexander. I mean, out of the gate.
I haven't got a chance to have that. Is there an age on that?
It's an NAS, but I tell you what, for a 40%, you do have to give it a drop of water, even at 40%. It sounds crazy, but you do have to do that. It really does open up to be a boatload of different notes, complex. But that's the only whiskey I ever tasted that's 40% that really was like, wow, that's a.
You know what they say, man? Like the professional whiskey tasters reduce it way below 40 to like 30% to like get the ideal flavor. For me, it's just look. I'm not a professional, and that ain't the like experience I want. Like I want flavor. I'm not trying to like pull out the essence of the distillery. Like what I get at 40% or higher is like the way I'm rolling with it. I'll put a little water on a 40%er to see, but I'm not trying to get super scientific with it because you know what? Like you and I probably have the same philosophy on this. Like, like we're just trying whiskey, developing our palates, sharing our dumb 2 cents with people. Like we're trying to just like enjoy this stuff at the way we enjoy it. And so this whole thing about like, oh, you got to reduce it to 30% and like, sit down with a notebook for 3 hours. Like, I'm not doing that, man. I'm just not doing it. Like,
well, what I like
drink water. Like, I just want to drink water.
46 to 48 to me is the sweet, perfect spot because that way I can play with the water a little bit if I want.
Yeah.
If it's not cast strength, like you said, I'd much rather have it at cast strength. I like things pure. I do like a lot of flavor, and it's really hard to get. Like I said, unless you are spending $300 for a 40% whiskey, it's hard to get that out of a 40% whiskey, and that's how they charge you for it.
You saw firsthand just a few weeks back, man, when you reviewed that new Glenlivet 18, which they reduced in the American market from 43 to 40%, and you were saying it like you were like, man, this whiskey has taken a dive. Like this is not what it was, and that 3% makes a huge difference, especially on something like Glenlivet, which is like soft flavors from the get-go. Like not a bold whiskey. Man, you drop that to 40% as like the introductory ABV, you're just not going to get as much of that flavor. And like you also lose a little bit more control. I mean, you can always just add water to things.
It's like a deflated balloon that goes around and is losing all its air and just kind of peters out. It's exactly like that. Let me get my pheno. I'll be right back. Let me get my Carriage's pheno.
Yeah, go for it, man. Do it. We're going to pour a little Lafroig to honor one of our both Telex and I's favorite distilleries for the non-existent FISIL festival happening tonight. But good chatting with everybody. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Silverlock says there's a 30-year-old Glenrothes. That sounds amazing. Shiver Me Timbers, Mark Stengel says. Folks chatting back and forth. Still some talk about Glenrothes. It sounds like a good.
Look how sad this is. That's
you got to heal. Yeah. That's a good whiskey, man. That cast I thought was really good.
I love this stuff. I was lucky enough to get 2 bottles of this when it came out.
What was the ABV on that Fino? I don't remember.
Lafroig was doing a in Annapolis. They went down to Dry 85 where I like to go and eat and get some good whiskey. And Lafroig showed up and they took us out on this boat. And they at the end they let you get like a great bottle of the Lafroig Carriages. Finally, it was awesome. This is 51.8.
That's awesome, man.
And this is from 2000. And the way you can tell usually is the last number tells you the year. So this would be the 2018 bottle. The ones before was like 51.7, 51.6, 51.5. They would do it that way typically.
What did you think of the lore? Have you had the lore?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, of course, I wish it was an age statement, but it's funny because to me, it's like a souped-up version of the 18 without the refinement of the 18. It's kind of like if you took Dark Origins or some or Lagavulin Distillers Edition, like a really nice sherry whiskey, and you put some refinement in it, but it's also got some young, powerful flavor in there too. So it's it doesn't fight with itself, but it's a good solid whiskey for, you could usually find it for 100 to 110 now. When it first came out, 130 was way too overpriced, I think, though. But I think 100 is what you kind of find it at, right?
The lore?
Yeah.
Man, I'm seeing it sub 100.
Oh, wow.
I've seen it as low as $80.
That's crazy, man. That's a steal. It should be
right now, I think it's reduced. I think it's in the 90s right now. Like by and large. I mean, again, it's going to vary, right? But I don't think you should ever have to pay more than 100 for lore now. It seems like it's dropped in price enough. I mean, just a cursory search for the lore in the old Wine Searcher.
Do you remember seeing it for 110, 120?
Oh, yeah, for sure. That was what it was 2 years ago, for sure.
The good news is it sounds like they got more aged stuff coming with that new 16. Hopefully they will bring a newer.
Yeah, I mean, listen to this.
15.
So I just threw Lafroig lore into the machine here. I am seeing it in a bunch of places: 84, 89, 90, 92, 93, 99. There's a few places over 100 still, but yeah, the lore seems like it's. And I don't know, this is market specific. Who knows if it's this way across the board, but
I think it is because someone else said it was about 80 for where they were. So I bet what happened was they probably slapped a 130 MSRP on it, and they probably sold half of what they thought they would. And they probably realized, people aren't going to shell out that kind of money unless it's got an 18 or 16-year-old statement on it. Yeah. So that's when they probably dropped it down to $90, $100. So that's a lot easier to stomach.
So, Telex, I got to share one thing with you, and as a Lafroig fan, and I realize I probably should have done this one tonight.
Damn, that's good.
I have this weird bottle here. High Grove.
Yeah, that's an independent bottling that does Lafroig.
And it's a Lafroig single cask. It's 46%, so that's a little questionable, but it's pretty much 13 years old. It's a 13-year-old Lafroig single cask. It's apparently some weird store in the UK, in England, that has some deal with Lafroig where they get to buy a barrel or barrels from Lafroig and bottle their own single casks of it. But this has got to be interesting. I've never had an independent bottling of Lafroig or a single cask from Lafroig for that matter. So I might have to maybe I'll dive into this later tonight. If not, I'll open it soon. But this might be an interesting one, and this is one I'm going to save a dram for you for sure. Because awesome. I think you're gonna need to try that. And the best part was I got it on Whisky International online. It was 80 pounds. So it was like $100.
Yeah, I saw them. That's the only reason I knew what you were talking about, because that's where I was looking, and I saw all these High Grove bottles. I was like, wow, they must have. I thought they must have a deal or something.
They don't do anything else. They have no other whiskeys that I've seen that they do barrels of. It's only Lefroy.
Wow,
And
that'd be awesome.
I had to do it.
I haven't had any independent bottlings other than a hand. Roy Aquavite sent me a hand-filled Lefroy bottle that was a sample. That was really good. It was really fresh and vibrant. It was almost like reminiscent of a really good Brooklotti kind of thing.
Oh man, I can only imagine.
So that was quite tasty. So I'd definitely be all up for trying something like that. Yeah, you don't see too many Ardbegs and Lefroy's independent bottlings unless you do the SMWS or the. Occasionally, you might see like Chieftains or something, but not for too often.
Yeah, I agree. Lefroy's not one of those distilleries you catch a lot of these for, and I don't know why. It just is what it is, you know. They don't do a lot of independent bottlings.
God, I can't get over how much better this Fino is than all the whiskeys I've had tonight. Seriously, it's like,
yeah, man, that Fino was good. I really enjoyed that one. That was one of the first whiskey reviews I did on my channel, was the Lefroy Fino, and I think I still have a sample bottle with some in it. I got to open that soon because I missed that one. That's a really good bottle. You know, have you heard about the Carchis 2020? It's going to be a port wine. It's going to be a port and red wine finish.
Ooh. Now, the good news is both the Brodeer first batch, definitely, and the second and third or whatever for the Brodeer, for the Lefroy, and their Carriages 2013, both ports were both excellent. So this is a good sign, because usually I don't like it when people try port cask. Lefroy know how to do it right. So I think we're going to be in for a treat, hopefully.
Yeah, speaking of the port cask, so I got a chance to try the 2013 Carchis. A sample was sent to me by Lee, Aquaman. So I got to raise a glass to him. I know he's recovering from coronavirus. You know, cheers out to him. I hope his recovery is doing well if he's tuning in. But he was generous enough to share a sample of that with me. And, man, that was a real good one.
That's the same place I got mine, too.
Because that's a hard bottle to find. I have every bottle from 2014 up. I have all of them from – I have a double. Yeah, I got a double of everything from 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. But – yeah, that 13 is elusive. And then, of course, those earlier ones are freaking impossible.
Can you believe he has the whole series? It's crazy. He's got like 08, 09, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. It's insane, man. I mean, I'm sure he paid a pretty penny for those. I mean, usually they go for 300 a piece every time I look around. I can find them, but they're like 300 plus. I'm like, that's just crazy money when
they
usually cost like $100, you know?
Yeah, totally, man. Totally. And the thing I got on that Fino, I got a little bit of dried fruit note on the Fino. And I think I was mentioning earlier, and it was I was on a live stream. This must have been a couple months ago with Malted in Montreal, and he was saying, like, you know, a lot of these whiskeys, again, this trade-off between ABV and 40. Like, you should expect a good whiskey at 40%, and that in some cases you're trading off higher ABV for less quality cask. That Fino, I think, is an example of that to some degree. Like, I can imagine, like, if they had even higher quality cask, it would have been better. But again, I think at the end of the day, you know, the more alcohol is more flavor. I'll take the maybe less quality cask and higher ABV necessarily than the top quality of 40%. But I think he made a really good point about that, and that was, you know, something I'd never really considered before. And like because you are seeing more and more distilleries coming out with like cask strengths and, you know, going from age statements to higher ABVs. And I think it's related to that a little bit.
It may be, but I tell you what, man, just the nose alone, not even talking about how great the palate is, but just the nose, I get a lot from the cask on this. I mean, it might have been because it's been oxidized like crazy because this is an older.
It's a good bottle, man.
It's so solid. I mean, I went through two of these pretty damn quick. I mean, I had that heel for a long time. Like, the only reason I had that heel because, like I said, I was thinking about doing like a review or something. But man, it's so good. It's insane. Even at 43%, I think this would still be a solid whiskey. Yeah. I just love the fact that it's 51.
Right. I mean, and they were doing that whole thing, right? So it's 51.8, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they so the point number was a way that they were indicating the year. Yeah, right. Other than the 2015, which is the exception, but yeah.
Yeah, that's the weird off one. But yeah, all the other ones like the Madeira, I think was 0.6 or
0.6. Yep.
And then
Amontillado was 0.4. The cast strength quarter cast was 0.7. So on and so on.
Yeah. Yeah, all those are really good. I'm looking forward to the new carriages. Do you know when it gets released?
I remember seeing last year. I remember seeing it as early as right around now, because I remember I got the triple wood cast strength relatively early. Let me see when I posted my review of it, because I did a video review of it like basically right when it came out, and that means I must have got it just a few days prior. I want to say I started. Usually it's June. I think it's June. So my review of that one was, boy. Yeah, here we go. My review was August 3rd of 2019, so maybe a little later in the summer. So I think you can expect it late summer. Yeah, but apparently, from what I've heard, it's going to be a port wine and a red wine. So that should be interesting. So they're bringing the port back, but they're mixing it with the red wine. I don't know. It should be cool.
Oh yeah, someone's already got a thing on Distiller for it. 52% ABV supposedly. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but that's perfect, because it's right. It's even 51.8 and then 51.9 for the triple wood, and then this new one will be a flat 52%. So that makes sense.
No image, right? Yeah. 2020, right?
No image or anything yet. So usually you can find Ardbeg's new stuff. They release their images pretty quickly I think November. You can usually find something about what they're going to do for March.
Right.
Their committee releases come out in March, and then the real deal comes out like later on around June, July for the regular. Have you seen any of the regular black yet?
I think it just got released yesterday. The PCO release. So I think it's only. I mean, we won't see it here for probably another couple months, but I think it's coming out relatively soon. The standard, which honestly, I've never had one of the standard releases of something I had the committee release of. So I'm interested in trying it. I mean, I heard the standard release drum was arguably better than the committee release, but.
I wouldn't argue with that. I think it's a rare exception, though, like the Dark Cove and the Kelpie and the all the other ones, especially the Grooves. The Grooves was a big difference to me. The committee release was really good. The regular one was okay. I mean, it's I still enjoy it, but it's just not near as good. And that's the thing to me. Even going from 52% to that 48%. It's about the power of the taste to me. I mean, I know what Swami's saying as far as like the cask quality.
Yeah. I totally hear what you're saying.
I just the taste to me is so much better when you have that foundation.
Where does the black stack up for you related to like the last couple committee releases?
It was very solid. I liked it a hell of a lot better than both drums. I liked it. I think I liked it on par with. The Grooves. I think it was better than the Grooves. Was it as good as Dark Cove? That's where I'm kind of like. I think it was almost as good as the Dark Cove. I think it was on. I enjoyed the Kelpie a lot. I know a lot of people didn't dig the Black Sea cask, but I did. I love the Kelpie, and I thought it was about the same as the committee release Kelpie. Quality level of complexity and
wow. Okay.
I thought Kelpie was interesting because I got like a German breakfast out of that glass. It was Spätzle and mustard and sauerkraut, and it had all these different things.
Sorry. I still had the Kelpie committee. I had a taste of the Dark Cove committee, and I think that was probably the best one I had. I never had the Kelpie. I did have the Grooves, the bottle, on which you pointed me in the right direction for. I liked that one a lot. Yeah, agree with you. The drum wasn't great. The black was really good. I think the black and the Grooves are like neck and neck But the Dark Cove is still, I think, probably the better one that I've had.
Dark Cove is probably the committee release of the Dark Cove is probably one of the best whiskeys I've ever tasted. I mean, NAS or not, I mean, it's that good.
Yeah, it's too bad it's so difficult to find. I do have a bottle of the non-committee release, which I found in the wild somehow. I don't understand how it was.
Wow, lucky you.
I also have the Ora Verdes.
Yeah, Ora Verdes is pretty good, I thought.
I've heard some good things about. A little bit more contention around that one, but
have you opened it yet?
You were saying earlier about marketing when we were ranting about Highland Park. Yeah, I think Ardbeg. It seems like some of their stuff is a little gimmicky, but it's not enough to like turn me off of it. I think the Highland Park thing maybe is a little bit more like they're not as over the top, right? They're trying to be fun. They're coming out with some fun stuff, whatever. I don't really find that their stuff is too gimmicky. And like I said, you saw that they very easily could have released the Wee Beastie with no age statement at 40%, like the Lafroig Select, and just called it a day. But they at least, threw the age statement on it and 47 some percent. And, I feel like it's non-chill filtered. I feel like Ardbeg at least does their stuff properly.
Exactly. They have the craft down a little bit better, I think, across the board. Have you opened an Ora Verdes up yet?
I haven't.
I think you're in for a treat. I have a heel left on my bottle, so when you decide to open it, let me know, and I'll dig mine out and have a little side by side because I still have a little bit. And the only reason is because I thought, well, I might do a review on it later on. So it's pretty good. It's very it's original. It's got this different. To me, it has like a white chocolate with a mocha kind of thing going on. It's really different. So hopefully you'll enjoy it as much as I did.
Yeah, man, definitely. I'll definitely check it out. I found it in the wild too. Like it's just, I was just out hunting and there it was sitting there. I'm like, wow, this is still around. And that was like kind of a strange release, right? Because it was like some type of soccer related thing or whatever.
Yeah, the Brazil team, the green and gold, that's the reason why they have the Ora Verdes deal. It was based around, I think Brazil was in the World Cup that year. It was like 2014 or something like that. But yeah, the Perpetuum releases and the Ora Verdes, they didn't sell as well. I think the Perpetuum was probably the weakest of all the Carriages type of releases that Ardbeg does. I think Perpetuum was probably the least interesting. The Ora Verdes, though, I know it's kind of one of those mixed review type of deals, but I think if you dig into the notes, you'll probably enjoy it.
I've heard a lot of like the Perpetuum because that was like the one that came out for their 200th anniversary or whatever, right? They did that. The Lagavulin did the 8, and Lafroig did the Carchis. I heard the Perpetuum just didn't really do it for a lot of folks, but I've never had it.
It was just. It's a lot like the Lagavulin 8 to me. It's really, really close to that with the addition of that Ardbeg 10 lime, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's got some nice peaty tones to it, but it's very citrusy, very lemon lime. It's to me, it's like, why get that when you can get the 10 and have an age statement? Because it's really similar to the 10. It's like a younger version of the 10 almost.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just
nothing interesting happening in it, huh?
No cask influence that I can remember. It might have been a little more fruitier on the citrus level, but like other than that, it just didn't really, check a lot of boxes. Like the Ora Verdes at least had a different craft to it, and it had some interesting other notes. Like I said, with the white chocolate and the mocha stuff going on. The Perpetuum was definitely a letdown, I think, as far as all the Ardbegs that I've ever had.
What was the thing with what was unique about the Ora Verdes? And I'd be curious if anybody in the chat has had the Ardbeg Ora Verdes or the what's the other one? Perpetuum. I'd be curious to hear. I don't know anything really much about either of them. Neo Zen. Brooke Lardy, Port Charlotte for the first time tonight. Yeah, that Port Charlotte 10 is solid. Good pour. Yeah, I'd be curious if anybody's had. So the Ora Verdes was 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be curious if anybody's had either of these, the Ora Verdes or the Perpetuum, and what folks think about it. I've never had either of them.
I'm trying to remember. They did something different with the way. I'm trying to see if I can find out what the details were on the. Give me 1 second if I can get.
Juan says Perpetuum is Ardbeg Select. Ooh,
That's pretty much on par, I think. I hate to say it. I mean, they do have a committee release. I'd love to try to see if it's any better. But, with that saying, oh man, that one, I don't see, it's 49.9% on the ABV for the Era Verde. So I really love that ABV on it. I'm trying to remember what the special deal was on the way they made it. If I remember correctly, it had something to do with the peat that they used. I'm sorry, not the peat, but the barley, the malted process of it was different.
Oh, I see.
Like it kind of reminded me of how, like, have you ever had a Glenmorangie Signet before?
Yep.
It kind of had that kind of tone, almost like a chocolate roast going on to it with the peat and the high ABV. It's like, how could you beat that, right?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I like the Signet quite a bit. I've never bought a bottle just because it's kind of pricey.
It's very pricey.
I
Yeah.
tried it at when I lived in DC. I had it at Jackaro's. That was good.
If you're lucky, you can find it for 180, but usually it's like 220. I've seen in a lot of places. It's really sad.
Yeah, that seems like a little bit. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, the Perpetuum is, again, I've never seen it in the wild, and so like.
I know a place down here, at least in Maryland, that you can find a boatload of bottles of it. Believe it or not, still.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you still have any of it?
I don't, but I'll try to see if this one place that's down in not the best part of town, if they still have a bottle, if I can get down there, I'll try to see if I can get you one.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's worth it.
I mean, I would maybe get some just to have to give you like a little, at least a way to get a little bit of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I could think of 100 different things that are a lot worse to drink. You know what I mean? It's like,
oh, for sure. Yeah.
Ardbeg's worst is like better than a lot of distilleries' best to me.
I'm with you on that totally. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, hey, if you end up wanting an extra bottle and want to give me a sample, that's cool. But I don't know. The way it sounds, it may not be worth pulling the full bottle. But again,
yeah,
eventually I wouldn't mind having a bottle of it. Why not?
I'll tell you this: the ABV on it is a hell of a lot better than the Select, if I remember correctly. Let me look that up real fast just to make sure I'm not telling you the wrong thing. But I'm pretty sure it was at least 46. I want to say. Let me see. 47.4. At least the ABV was.
If I'm not mistaken, this is the Wee Beastie. Yeah, the Wee Beastie is 47.4 too.
Isn't that weird? The Wee Beastie might be a young version of Perpetuum. That'd be funny. The weird thing about it is it says that the Perpetuum is ex-bourbon and ex-sherry. But I tell you what, if there's
you say the same thing about the Wee Beastie.
Weird, huh? The ex-bourbon and ex-sherry on the cask. But I tell you what, I could not, and I'm pretty good about getting notes. I could not get a lick of sherry out of that bottle.
I felt the same way about the Wee Beastie. Although,
isn't that weird?
I did an uncorking. So as I drink it more, maybe I'll have a little sip of it after the slower.
I bet you the Wee Beastie is like their new make they're gonna do of some new Perpetual or something.
Yeah. Right. It's like somehow a younger version because Perpetuum was NAS, right?
Yeah, it's NAS and it's back in like 2015.
Whiskey Scout's got an unopened Perpetuum. Nice. That's open. Tell us what's up.
Yeah, it just didn't have the sherry to me. I mean, it's non-chill filtered, and I don't think they bother with the coloring.
So it's not Ugadal, is what you're saying.
It's definitely not Ugadal by any means, not even close. Usually, I can tell the difference. I'm not trying to brag, but I can tell if I taste Oloroso or PX or Fino or Menezia or Amontillado and all the different like types of sherry you can think of. With this, I literally did not detect any sherry in it. Zero.
Wow.
Was it the same way with the Wee Beastie for you? Did you
I
take?
didn't get any cherry on it. It was mostly just like pepper and bourbon notes.
Maybe that's the thing. Maybe these ex-sherry casks they're using, even though they say it's ex-sherry, maybe they're so spent that it's like you might as well say it's an empty barrel of something. You know what I mean? Like it's been so taxed that you can't get anything out of it.
So here's an interesting question I just saw pop up in the chat. Neo said, "Can you give me your impression of Ardbeg 10 versus the Port Charlotte 10? Notes difference, and which one do you like better? I see some similarity in the notes listed online."
You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it.
I would say I like both. In you could tell I'm a Ardbeg fanboy because of all the bottles behind all these Highland Parks are all Ardbegs. So I don't dislike the core. The thing about the 10 I don't like much is the lemon lime flavor you get out of it versus the Port Charlotte 10. I like both barley flavor you get. The Ardbeg barley is a lot different than the Port Charlotte. Port Charlotte to me is a little more earthy. The Ardbeg is a little more maritime to me, as far as it's got a little more of a briny, earthy factor to it. I like both, but if I had my own personal pick, even though I'm more of an Ardbeg distillery fan, I would go for the Port Charlotte 10 because I like the barley and the flavor and just the feel of it more. That's all I can really say on that one.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I really like Ardbeg 10 is just classic and great. I enjoyed the citrus lemon lime thing you kind of get off of that. It's just such a the nose. I think the nose on Ardbeg 10 beats any other Islay 10-year-old. I think it's just one of the best noses ever. But everything else, that Port Charlotte 10, it's a little higher ABV. I think you're right about like the barley notes. It's got a little bit more of a robust kind of balanced body to it with a little more happening. But the Port Charlotte 10 is also like $20, $25 more. So I think I'd go with the Ardbeg 10 is probably the one I would choose off the shelf, but I wouldn't sneeze at either of them.
Yeah, Andrew was saying that it was $30 more expensive in his area for the Port Charlotte 10. Yeah, I mean, if you're asking me what do I like better, I might like the Port Charlotte 10 a little more, but do I think it's worth $30 more than the Ardbeg 10? No fucking way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I just think the Ardbeg 10 is. I'm actually going to be doing I'm going to do a couple months of the Port Charlotte 10, the Ardbeg 10, and the Lefroy 10 because I haven't had the Lefroy 10 in a long time. I'm going to kind of compare them all. We'll see what happens. But yeah, my general disposition would be the Ardbeg 10.
I still have a little cast strength 10 I might have to pull out here in a little bit. And
oh, man.
That might be my nightcap.
The Lefroy?
It's a 10 cast strength sample I had back in the day. I already had my own bottle of it back there. And
man.
Sent me a sample for something. I forgot
what it was. Good whiskey. The Lefroy 10 cast strength. I did a top 5 Lefroy video a while back, and the Lefroy 10 cast strength was very high on that list. Look, every year you get something a little different in profile. It's got a lot of complexity. It's bottled at cast strength. It's got an age statement, and it's like sub $80 in most cases.
It's like, how could you bitch about that, right?
Yeah, you just can't go wrong.
Well, I hate to cut it off, man, but I'm going to have to head out. I got to work.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's about that time.
But it was great, fast as hell 2 hours, as we always do.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of fun, and good chatting with everybody. If you've yet to do sub Telex to Whiskey Tech and sub Malt Muser, if you're into such things, we're going to continue doing our whiskey reviews and continuing our weekly show. I do a happy hour on my channel at 8:00 every Tuesday, right before the show with Telex, and then I hop on and Telex does his weekly show, and we're having a good time. It's almost 2 months now, so it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and if we'll try maybe to do Kregeliki next, if you can.
Let's look at it for sure. I'll definitely keep my eyes open for a bottle of 13.
Yeah, I don't think you'll be disappointed. Did you like the Glencadam 13? Do you remember?
I did, yeah. So I'm definitely interested, and I've seen the Kregeliki 13 relatively well priced. So nice. I'll definitely look for it. All right, man. I'll be good. Until then, I'll catch you next week, buddy. Cheers, everybody.
Same here. See you guys soon. Yeah. Thanks so much, Malt, for stopping by, and everybody else. I really appreciate it. Good to see you. Stay well, safe. Same to you, Silverlock, and I appreciate y'all stopping by. Mike Valletto, great time. Jimmy T, wow, I really appreciate the thing. Someone asked about which batches. This one was an 006, I think it was. Let me see something real fast. Yeah, the sample I have is a 6. The bottle I have back here is an 8, 008. It's probably a little older. It's probably a few years old. I'm not sure what the numbers are at now. They're probably pretty high, I have a feeling, to answer that one question before we take off. Well, hope to see you guys next. We'll be doing, I think, Regaliki, it sounds like, next week. That'll be fun. I'll be doing, hopefully, have my 17 in hand by then. He'll at least, I think, have a 13. If anyone's had the 23, it'd be cool to get some notes from you guys, too, as well. I really appreciate it. Sláinte.